Yo, what's up, y'all? Mike from Boston Card Exchange back at it. Yes, we are officially Boston Card Exchange now, switching the name over from Junk 90s. So can get used to that. There you have it. Anyway, today we have a sick PSA reveal for you. This is all vintage baseball, 1970s, from a collection we bought recently, ranging from 1974 up to 1978. There are some sick cards in here. On top is a 74 Mike Schmidt. You can see the 74 Nolan Ryan in here. Dave Winfield rookie, Thurman Munson, man, he's a huge name. Dave Parker rookie, Tony Perez, Tom Seaver, names like that. So we've got like a lot of Hall of Fame rookies and then just like star Hall of Famers in here throughout. So it's gonna be kind of a quick one. 11 cards in here, but some big stuff. A lot of these, if they do hit high grade, we're targeting high grade in these, but if they hit high grade, like this Nolan Ryan or this Mike Schmidt, we're talking some pretty big money cards. So there's Hall of Famers all up and down this lineup, a number of rookie cards, some big money potential. This will be a fun one. So anyway, we'll do the usual, a nice breakdown, then the reveal. So 11 cards submitted at the value bulk level. Let's get started. So this is the first one. This is Mike Schmidt's first solo card. So in 1973, he had his rookie card. I forget who he splits it with, but that is obviously it's Mike Schmidt. It's a big money card. Best third baseman in that era. This being his first solo card, this one also goes for a lot of money. You see that a lot with collectors. Like the second year card doesn't always get a premium, but a lot of times when it's the first solo card the player is on in his second year, it starts to hit a premium. You see that with Larry Bird, you see that with Magic Johnson, you see it here with Mike Schmidt, you see this with a lot of vintage baseball players that had their rookie cards on one of those shared 2, 3, 4, 5, even sometimes other players in the cards. So this one was really excited about. My best guess on this one, or my estimate going in, was this was going to be an 8. It's gonna be really hard to see on here, but it's just got like a little bit of corner. I can't call it whitening because the cardstock and this is browning, but just like a little bit, enough on the corners, enough on the edges where it's probably not gonna be a 9. Would have loved a 9. That's like a 5, 6, maybe even $700 card. The 8 would be like 1 to 200, and the 7, just probably like 50 to 100 on this one. But anyway, I was hoping for an 8 would be a very nice one for what I paid for it. 9 would have been amazing. That would have been a huge hit. But this one, 8 would have been really nice. And this one, we got an 8 on it. Very excited about this one. There's a lot of them listed on eBay around the 185 range. I don't know if this one guy just had a million of them or what, but I'm going to list it right around there, take offers, and see where this one takes us. But very happy to start that one off, hitting an 8 in the Mike Schmidt, exactly what we thought it would be. They are who we thought they were, and yeah, very nice start on this one. Big card to hit. This next one, Dave Winfield, this is his rookie card, 1974 Topps. This is a big set. There's a lot of really nice cards in here. I mean, 70s baseball is just amazing. But yeah, the Winfield on this one seemed like it was going to be limited to a 7 or an 8, because just the top bottom centering is a little bit off. And then when I was filling the card, it seemed like there might have been a tiny little bend around the top. Otherwise, it's really pretty clean. It's really nice. Corners are nice. Edges are nice. But this one just seemed like it was probably going to be confined to the 7, the 8 area. The 7 is around like 100. The 8, I want to say, was like 2 to 250, something like that. So would have been happy with either of those grades. Would have loved to hit an 8, love to hit a 9, but centering is going to prevent us from that. But anyway, this one got a 7. You can be fine with that. It's in the range that you thought it would be. You always hope for the best and then get slightly disappointed you don't hit it. But hitting a 7 on a Dave Winfield rookie is definitely good, especially with what we paid for it and what we paid to get it graded. So this is definitely a success on this one. So Dave Winfield in a 7. Listed this one I think at 125 thereabouts. So this one feel pretty good about, and should be able to get a nice return on this card. So very happy about that one. Thurman Munson, man, this guy. So this huge Yankees legend. He doesn't get talked about a whole lot in like modern circles among like Yankee fans. I don't feel like I hear the name Thurman Munson spoken nearly as often as you would hear Derek Jeter or Mickey Mantle or some of these other guys. Not to say he was as good as they were, but he is and was a massively popular player. He's one of the most collected on the player set registry for vintage baseball. So Thurman Munson has a ton of collectors. So this is a guy, when you see him, you got to think about grading him. This is a gorgeous card. This one, when I first went over it, I was like, wow, looking at this thing, has a shot at a 10. when I looked at it a little more closely, it has this like little bit of a surface defect, like right around, I want to say it was like right around here, where on some other cards I've been submitting, I was thinking those had been mostly coming back around like 8s. Sometimes they were hitting 9s. But this thing is like perfectly centered, amazing corners, amazing edges. This is about as minty a card as you can get, minus that surface flaw. So I was thinking like outside shot at a 10, probably not going to hit one, but if it did, there's one listed for like 5,000. The 9 is like a 200, 250, maybe $300 card. The 8 would have been too bad, but definitely something you have to think about because of that defect in the middle. But was really hoping for a 9 on this one. Would have loved a 10, but not really that realistic. And 8 was definitely a possibility. So 8 to a 9 on this one. This one ended up getting a 9. Super happy when I got this one back. This one's listed, I think, right now at about 285. So I don't think it's going to sell at that level, but I'm expecting this one to sell between like 2 and 250. So really happy. This was a nice hit. Getting a 9 on this one. Very happy because that was about the realistic best case scenario this one can get. So super happy about hitting this Thurman Munson at a 9. Hooray for us. Next up, Dave Parker. Big rookie card for him, a guy that a lot of people would argue should be in the Hall of Fame. This is another one that was looking really, really good, but at first, very, very well centered, pretty clean surface. It's got some, they're gonna be really hard to see, but it's got like a little bit of a fisheye right there along the jawline, which would probably prevent it from being a 10. It had enough like just, slight touching on the corners and the edges where I was like, maybe it can hit a 9, but probably not. This one seemed like a best fit for an 8. A 7 I would be pretty annoyed by. But 8 seems like a pretty fair grade with an outside shot at a 9. And you send those in all day. Like all day if you got that kind of shot on this card. If you have a shot at a mint Dave Parker rookie from 1974, I don't care what you think, it could be, you send that thing in. So would have loved a 9. 8, think would be a pretty realistic grade, and 7 would be disappointing, but that's fine. This one ended up getting an 8. So again, hitting some really high grade vintage cards from the 70s. This one again will probably sell like the 1 to 125 range. There's a lot of these out there. It's not a particularly rare card, but a rookie card of a very, very big player from the 70s and 80s. You're gonna do really well sending these in and hitting high grades like this. Next up, Tony Perez. This one seemed to me like it had a shot at a 10. I feel like a 9 was a pretty fair grade. The surface was very clean, very well centered, amazing edges, amazing corners. It was like tiny, tiny, tiny little bits of just, kissing on the corners where there's like a little tiny bit of brown, but you have to get up so close to see that stuff. This was a gorgeous card. I was thinking it had an outside shot at a 10. These are just, like, guys, 70s cards are just so hard to hit 10s in. You almost have to throw away the grade as a possibility. I've sent in so many cards in the 70s and you just so rarely hit that you can hope for the best, but just assume you're not going to get it. 9 seemed like the most fair grade for this. 8 would have been pretty disappointing. So the 10, I don't remember what it goes for. 9, you can say like 75 to 100, which is a pretty nice get on a card like this that probably sells for like $1 or $2 raw. The 8, you're going to hopefully get your grading feedback, so it's going to be about $20. And this one went for a 9. So again, very happy on this one. Asking, I think 98, 99, something like that. So we'll take offers in this. I hope to sell it in that 75 to 100 range, but this is a really nice hit, hitting a 9 for a Hall of Famer and Tony Perez. Very happy with that one. Next, Tom Terrific. First of 2 in this in this submission. So this one being the 76, the other's a 74. This is another one where it seemed like you could hit a 9. Kind of have to forget about your hopes of a 10, and this one just like a little bit off-centered a little bit too much to really be a strong 10 candidate. It's got some fish eyes, a little bit of like surface issues, but overall very, very nice card. My realistic impression of this was 8 or a 9. 8 was like 50 to 100. The 9 just goes for multiples of that, and this one ended up getting an 8. So, would have loved to hit a 9, but that's okay. An 8's still a pretty profitable card, and you got to take shots when you get the shots at them. So an 8 seemed pretty fair here, and very happy to be getting that grade and getting a profitable card from 1976 Topps. So this one have high hopes for, but again, you can't really so let me start over. Nolan Ryan is the guy from basically his rookie year on through retirement in baseball. He has so many collectors, so many fans. He is the iconic player in the MLB from the 70s and 80s, and then his career extends even into the 90s. So, anytime you're looking at a Nolan Ryan in high grade, you gotta at least consider what you could, get from it and what the best decision would be. You gotta sit down and think about that one. So this one I was thinking outside shot at a 9, like very outside shot, probably like 7 or an 8. So it's beautifully centered. 9, borderline 10 centering on this one. Tiny little bits of touching on the corners and the edges. I really thought the biggest problem in this thing, you're not gonna be able to see it, but just like I'm gonna try to hold it up as close to the camera as I can get it, but like there's like the tiniest little bit of brown down there from the underlying cardstock for just like a little corner defect that I thought would probably make it, an 8, maybe a 7 if I get a really harsh grader, but seemed like an 8 was the most likely grade for it, maybe a 7. Again, outside shot at a 9, so you always take that shot with somebody like Nolan Ryan, because the 7 is probably like $100 card, so you're gonna do really well if you think it's gonna be a 7. And an 8, it's like 2 to 250, and if you happen to hit a 9, you're talking about possibly a $2,000 card. So you always take those shots when you get a chance to. So yeah, if you got it and you think it's got a shot at it, send it in, see what you get. And this one happened to get a mid-9. That is an incredible grade when you can hit it. When you roll the dice in enough of these, hoping to get some nice grades, and this one came back in a mid-9. This card, there's a few of them listed. The lowest bin is, there's some old slabs that are listed around 200, but the newer slabs like this one is, people tend to agree they're getting graded harsher, so they're starting to command a little bit more of a premium from collectors. So this one, I'm starting at 2,300 and working my way down. I've already had an offer on this one at 19. So maybe I was dumb to hold out for a little bit more. We couldn't quite come to an agreement on it, but this is definitely a huge, massive hit. Pays for the entire submission and then some. So I would have been very happy in an 8. Would have loved the 9, but been very happy in an 8 because I thought it would be a very defensible grade and probably the most likely one that it would get. 7 would have been a little bit disappointing, but hitting a 9, which it had, a perfect shot or a good shot at, but, it had a shot at, which, you have to send in with that. But, hitting the 9 on this one is certainly a huge, huge hit. So this is, well, I don't want to blow what else we got in here, but this is definitely I'll just say this is definitely the biggest hit of the submission. There isn't really much that would in here that would, come close to the $2,000 mark unless they hit a 10. But this is definitely a massive hit and definitely one of the bigger ones I've had recently. So very happy to get this 9. Can't wait to send it off to a new home, but definitely very excited when I opened up the submission and saw this one in there. So yeah, Nolan Ryan, mid-9. Hooray for us, huge hit. We'll go on to the next one. 76 Topps Eddie Murray. This one was one that I thought would probably get, a 9. As with anything, 10, definitely a legitimate shot, very well centered, very little going on in the edges and the corners. Surface is very clean. So this one, I was like, hey, if it hits a 10, you could be talking about maybe a $500 or $1,000 card. In a 9, I'm talking about $100. 8, you're talking about just like breaking even, getting your grading feedback. But this one, yeah, you take a shot at this. This is a 79 Topps Eddie Murray, his second year card. Again, we're thinking 9 is the most realistic outcome. 8 is possible, 10 again possible, and this one got an 8. A little bit disappointing, but that's just kind of the way it goes sometimes. It's hard to complain about the submission when you hit a 9 on the Nolan Ryan, and then you're like, oh no, I didn't hit everything in the submission. So an 8, I think is undergraded, but it's a defensible grade, and sometimes you hit big, and sometimes, you miss ones that you think should have gone higher, but that's kind of the nature of the game. So this one got an 8, no big deal, we'll move on. The second of the 2 Tom Seaver cards, this one thought would probably be a 7 or an 8. The 7 is like 50 to 100, the 8, probably 100 to 200. So this one just like has a little bit going on in the corners. Let's see if I can get a bit of a closer look. There's just like a little bit of, you really don't need very much to get to a 7. Like if you held these things at arm's length, you're not gonna be able to see the defects. You have to hold them up close. And, I've just been seeing a lot of people with a lot of collections lately have been asking me about how to, begin to learn about grading. And you just got to understand the level of defect. When you're talking about the near mint grades, they're so small that they're they're kind of tough to get used to, and they're kind of tough to get a beat on. But this one just had like just enough where I was like, an eight's a possibility, seven's probably the most likely. But it's not that expensive of a card, and if you have near mint stuff, you can start to think about sending it in. So this is one of them. A lot of times I send stuff like this to SGC, but I kind of wanted to roll the dice in a few of these and just see what PSA would spit out. So this one got a 7. We're listing this one about, now I'm trying to remember what I listed it at. It was probably around like 75 or something like that. Maybe it was like 60, 70 bucks, something like that. So this one, Tom Terrific, one of the best pitchers of that era. He can be pretty happy hitting a 7. This will be a profitable card from the submission level we sent it in at. It's not a particularly expensive card, and you spend 20 bucks in the grading fee, and then you get to double your money. So this one's definitely a pretty nice one. That's you don't have to get too excited about 7s, especially when you see some of the other cards we got in that stack. But this one, you can be happy about hitting on your estimate of the grade and turning a card's worth a couple bucks into something that might make you 20 or 30. So you can be pretty happy about that. Reggie Jackson. Got 2 left. Reggie Jackson, similar thing, thinking this was a 7 with an outside shot and an 8. The 7 is going to be about 50 to 75. The 8 will be about 100 to 125. So you start to think about, hey, if we turn that 8, we're going to have a really, really nice submission once these cards start to add up. So again, like the Seaver, just like a little bit enough going on with the edges and the corners where you're thinking it's not going to 9, but it's got a shot at some of those, the near mid or the near mid grade. So would love to see an 8 on this one. 7's most likely. And this one hits a 7. So just like the Tom Seaver, not a big money card, but you start to add enough of these up and you start to talk about a really profitable submission where you're, doubling up on enough of these cards where you start to, make some nice profits out of it. So this one would have loved an 8. You take a shot at it when you can, but a 7's still a profitable card and still something to be very happy with. This is the last one. Andre Dawson, rookie card, 1977 tops. The main problem, the centering isn't too bad top to bottom, but I remember there being like a bit of an edge issue here where I was like, hey, it's again got a shot at an 8, probably a 7, and this one ended up a 7. So again, fair grade, defensible grades, still profitable in a 7. Not a ton of money, but you won't regret sending it in. More that you had to wait the 3 months as opposed to losing or making much money, but a 7's still a profitable card and still be happy with it. So this was a nice submission, guys. Obviously, there's some real big money cards, or there's some real nice cards, like a lot of $100 stuff, $200 stuff, and then you got that big one, whenever it's coming out here, Nolan Ryan right here being the the gem of that submission, where that is worth more than everything else in here combined. But even without that Nolan Ryan, if that Nolan Ryan had been an 8, it's still a very successful submission. Things mostly went about where I thought they would go. So in that case, you can be pretty happy about how things turned out. Obviously, you always want to hit on as many as you can, but if this is the biggest card in that submission, this Nolan Ryan, and if you hit the high end of what you expected and it has that much of a multiplier, we were talking about the difference between a $200 card and a $2,000 card, you can be ecstatic with that. So this is a very successful submission. Super happy about it. Can't wait to get these listed, and they are listed. Can't wait to start making some sales and cashing in and putting these in new homes. But this was an excellent submission, guys. So yeah, let me know what you think. That was a lot of fun. I love sending in 70s baseball. It's one of my favorite eras. So yeah, that's it. Mike from Boston Card Exchange. We'll see y'all soon, and thanks for watching. Peace, y'all.